Hi everyone, welcome to Target Fix channel. Today I'm going to explain another important topic which is Kubernetes. Why I'm telling it is very important. Today most of the companies they are using Kubernetes for deploying their applications. Okay, let's go into the topic. Okay, let's see the definition before that we are going towards the Kubernetes. I will explain what Kubernetes, why we are using the Kubernetes and what is the architecture. Okay. Let's see, these are the internet questions only. Kubernetes or KATS for short, which means we can call Kubernetes as KATS, which means in between the K and S there are 8 letters. You can count down it as is an open source container orchestration tool designed by Google, which is it is designed by Google, and it is a container management tool. Let's see that if you have deployed your application using Docker container manually, if suddenly your pod will get down or your container get down, I mean who are responsible for the application? You need to check and you need to go back and you need to create another you need to create a replica towards that application, right? It will take some process and there is a lot of loss of money and disturbance for the users as to here. At the time the Kubernetes come into picture, which means it will manage the containers. Okay, while Docker is a container runtime, which means it will create the Docker images. Docker is a Docker container tool, Docker image creating tool. Okay, container runtime. Kubernetes is a platform for running and managing containers from many containers runtime. Kubernetes support numerous container runtime including Docker, which means it will support all these things. Why we are using the container? Let's just remember this. Kubernetes is a container managing tool. Okay, this is the architecture. I will tell you the components of each and everything. In the Kubernetes we have the master nodes and the worker nodes. Kubernetes we can download manually or we can use a cloud Kubernetes, which means in each of the cloud service they are providing their Kubernetes. AWS Kubernetes we have, Azure Kubernetes we have, Google Cloud Kubernetes we have. The concept is same for everywhere towards the Kubernetes. For Kubernetes we have the master node as well as the worker node. If you are manually managing the Kubernetes in your on premises, then master node and worker node managed by yourself. If you are using the cloud services for Kubernetes, master node will manage by the cloud provider, and we need to manage, we are only responsible for managing the node and the components which are present in master node or API server, controller, manager, scheduler and etcd. I will give some introduction towards those. API server, I mean whatever that we are fetching, I mean we are we are getting the information using the kubectl command, right? For those, the API server, yeah, the kubectl is connected with the API server and it is grabbing the information etcd. It is it just like a database. It will store the status of everything and the scheduler. Scheduler, what is the responsibility of the scheduler means it will it have the total information, like if you are providing some information like yeah, you want 2 pods. Okay, then scheduler will look into the worker nodes, where is the space, I mean what is the capability needed for your request, and it will schedule on which node you can deploy the your container, like that. And the controller manager is the main part of the master node, which means it will manage the containers. If any of the container will drop, automatically the controller manager will check the status in etcd and it will I mean of the server, I mean it will create new pods or new clusters, whatever even those are dropped In the worker node, the components are kubelet and kuber proxy, container runtime, and container network interface plugin. Kubelet, has to communicate with the worker node, the master node. Whenever request come towards the API server, the API server will communicate with the kubelet, and it will tell that it will give the instructions what to be performed. And the kuber proxy, what is the purpose of kuber proxy? Means as to connect with the applications which are running in the worker node directly. Kuber proxy is responsible for that, and to establish a communication between worker nodes and master node, and container network interfaces plugins are responsible. Whenever there is a request for creating a container, the container runtime, whatever the technology that we are using, Docker or somewhat, it will create the container, and I will tell you the flow how it will be. Whenever a request come from kubectl has to create a pod towards the API server, it will take the information from etcd. What are the pods, or what are the containers are running, and like that of information, and it will queue towards the scheduler. This is the present information which was present, which was running in our systems, and I got a new request, and whatever the request, it will give towards the scheduler, and it will check that towards the previous status, and where the space, and where we need to create the new container, and it will tell that in worker 2 node there is a space, so it will okay, there is no problem while creating your request, so it will suggest the worker node 2, and the API server will give instruction towards a kubelet, and kubelet will give instruction towards a container runtime to create a container. Okay, after creating the container, and the kubelet will inform toward the API server it is created, and kubelet server will give the latest information towards the etcd, and to update the status, which means a new container was created in worker node 1, like that of information for managing purpose, and the API server will give response towards the users. This is the flow. Let's say these are the steps, right? From kubectl, okay, API server is giving request towards the etcd, and etcd towards the API back, which means given the whatever the information it have, and from etcd towards the API, and API towards the scheduler, and scheduler to the using the algorithm, it will check which node group is perfect for creating the container, and back towards the API, and API towards the kubelet towards a container runtime, and it will run the container, and back okay, it will create the container on top of the pod, kubelet towards the API, and API towards the etcd. This is the flow of the Kubernetes. If any of the interview, if you tell the flow like this, you will get a job. This is a total architecture how the internal process was going on. Yeah, thank you so much. If you like the video, like my video and subscribe to my channel. Bye.